This time last year, as the last class who would ever graduate from Birmingham Southern College was lining up to receive their diplomas, Jan Weisberg was overseeing a different type of lineup. Coach Weisberg and his Panther baseball team were headed into what became a most astonishing postseason run in the NCAA Division III College World Series. That Cinderella story, or maybe we should say Cinderfella story, went viral. It wasn't BSC's first trip to the big show, but everyone in America knew it would be our last. And even though the boys in black and gold ultimately fell to a bunch of cheeseheads from Wisconsin Whitewater in the national semifinals outside of Cleveland, that team and their coach knew they had given it everything they had. And when it was time to come home, instead of accepting the offer of a flight, the boys and their coach chose to make that long trip back to Birmingham together by bus. Because at the end of the day, this was about way more than winning or losing. There is a lot to say about Jan Weisberg's coaching record. Over his 17 years at Birmingham Southern, he had the fourth winningest Division III program in the country during the 2010s. And he achieved both his 500th career coaching win and his 500th BSC coaching win in 2023, just a few weeks apart. But there's really just one thing to know about him. See, there are people who coach sports, and there are coaches who coach people, showing them by example what it means to be a good human, how to show up and dive in, how to swing for the fences, and how to live your life in such a way that no matter how that game ends, you can walk off the field with no regrets. That is, and this is, Jan Weisberg.
Thank you, Virginia. It's a pleasure to work alongside you for the past few years at BSC as we went through everything that we went through. And this past few weeks has been a little bit bittersweet because it has brought back so many memories. In April, it was the one-year anniversary of being told to finality, and then the anniversary of the playoff run. This week would have been the Super Regionals, and then next week will be the one-year anniversary of actually being the first team in NCAA history to take the field in an NCAA championship for a school that didn't exist. And fighting my players. We had the pride of what we wore obviously across our chest, but they really, really wanted to get a t-shirt that just said hashtag F, #boozer. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. It is a pleasure to be here. It brings back a lot of memories. It is great to be back in Birmingham. I was telling Virginia, what used to be a 5.5-minute drive to the Harbert Center is now a 5.5-hour drive as I'm down at Valdosta State University in South Georgia. But my first week here, I came down to work when I was offered the position at Birmingham Southern. I had left the University of Kentucky. I'd taken over a small college program in Lexington where I'd been for 15 years. Took them to their first postseason, and I was having a lot of fun. I was out of the rat race of the SEC, getting to know my players a whole lot better. But this opportunity came down here, and I had known the previous coach, Coach Shoup, for a long time. And I talked to him about, what Birmingham Southern was. I called Butch Thompson, who's now at Auburn, who played at BSC and was an assistant here. Just what is it about BSC? And after both those phone calls, I realized this is truly a special place where all of the athletic goals that I might have as a coach could be met, yet the personal goals and the investment in young people and being in a place that truly did change lives was there. And the athletic director at the time, who many of you know, I'm sure, Joe Dean, one of the most dynamic and just beautiful people that I've ever met. One of the first things we did when I got the job down here was came down and he was speaking at the Kiwanis Club, so it's kind of coming full circle that we're here. I won't take much of your time. I know you've got places to be and things to do. First and foremost, absolutely want to congratulate all of you student athletes for what you have accomplished. And I want to wish you the best as you move forward in a different and changing world of what a collegiate athletic experience will be. So many things are different now than they were just 5 or 10 years ago as you enter into it. But today I just kind of want to maybe talk a little bit about lessons that are learned. Anytime you go through something that, what some might perceive as being traumatic or a setback, I think you realize once you get on the other side that, one, you're going to persevere, but there's some valuable lessons learned by going through that. So maybe just a couple of things that we can talk about that you can relate to as you enter into this next journey of your lives. For leaders, when people ask, what do you do? Ultimately you say, I'm a head baseball coach, but so badly I want to say, man, I'm a teacher and I'm a leader. Because that's why I do what I do. That's why I don't need to be in the SEC to be happy. I just need a group of about 30 to 40 men that I can love, I can teach, and I can lead, and we'll build them into a winner. And that is the fun thing that I've done over my career. I think one thing that we talk about when you look at back what we went through last year, and it was an extremely trying time, but probably the most valuable thing that I've ever been a part of in my life. To take a group of young men who were in tears in a locker room on April, what was the date of the news? I don't know, April 5th. Dark, stormy. I got the news from our athletic director about 12 o'clock. President Coleman, who's an unbelievable leader through all of this, was going to make the announcement at 1 o'clock. And I just called Daniel and I just asked, I have to tell my team on my own. I can't let it. And he said, okay, wait till 12:58. But I was not going to let them hear it, through an email, through social media. Like, they had to hear it from us. And I think the reason for that is, a lot of our success in our program is we build our program from the inside out. And as you athletes go into your future, I would say do the same thing, right? Build your career from the inside out. Lay down the fundamentals that are going to be who you are. Lay down the settled issues or fundamentals that are going to be how you're going to attack everything that life might throw at you. But it was a dark and rainy day that day, and there was a ton of crying in that locker room. But the ability, because so many people ask, how did you get these guys to not just get through this, but then just thrive? And I go back to, it all came because we were starting to prepare for this. Didn't know something this big, but we were prepared for it. There were a lot of positives that came from a bad situation. The first being we were on spring break, and I thank God for that. They didn't have to worry about school for at least 4 or 5 days. Our game got canceled the next day because of rain, but we were going to be on the road for the next 6 days. So these guys didn't have to go back to an apartment and be alone and try to start to deal with this pain. We were going to be on a bus together for hours. We were going to be in a hotel together. And I told them it was a gift because over those next 6 days, we grew into something that was really special. And I think the country saw the finished product of that. But we talk about those fundamentals. One of the first things that we talk about as a program is, it's not what happens around you, it's not what happens to you, but it's how you respond to it. When life throws something hard at you, this gave us a chance to flesh that out. As Virginia mentioned, one of the first things we talk about is we talk to our players about show up, dive in, and hang on. So for all of you guys that are going into, playing at the next level, into the, whether it's in the SEC or at a small college, it's a tough thing, right? It's a new challenge. And the first thing that you've done is you showed up, right? You put yourself in the game. You're not afraid to say, I want to go do this, right? So the second thing now is dive in. Do the work that it takes to be successful, right? Do whatever it takes to be successful. And the last one is hang on. There's going to be tipping points in your career. We talk about breaking points. There's going to be something that makes you want to quit on a tough class, that wants to give in and I'll just take the C, right? I haven't earned this spot on the roster or this starting spot. It's going to make you maybe want to give in a little bit. Hang on, right? Show up, dive in, and hang on. That's what I love about athletics, right, is that these little lessons that we can learn that make us want to be successful in the field are things that, as our players get out into the world, they're the ones that are getting the promotions, right? They're the ones that have the confidence to start a new company and dive off the cliff and say, I want to go do this, right? And a lot of them are successful. They're entrepreneurs. And I think it starts with those lessons we learn in athletics of don't be afraid of a tough thing, right? And others around you might not show up, right? Others around you might not dive in. Right? I've got some guys that, yeah, they'll and this class is hard. I'm just kind of going to coast in. I'll take my C. And I got some guys that'll dive in and put the work in and go, man, I'm going to get that B. I'm going to get that A. All right, coach tells me I'm not in that starting spot. I'm going to use it as fuel. I'm going to dive in even harder. I'm not going to lay back and play the victim. Another thing that's been a big part of our program that helped us get through this was just open and honest communication. So as it came time to lead these guys through probably for them the darkest parts of their lives, everything was based on open and honest communication throughout their career. So they knew when I was going to lead them through this that I was going to do it openly and honestly. I was going to let them know what the difficult part of this was going to be. I wanted to know exactly how we were going to do it, but there was a trust there as we went through it. We have a saying in our locker room is greatness is the result of repeated intentional actions, right? So if it's easy for someone to say, man, I want to get a great grade. I want to make the President's Honor Roll, right? And some athletes don't prioritize that, but I want to get this goal right here. And a lot of us know what we have to do to get there. We know maybe I got to study more than the guy next to me who doesn't have that lofty goal, right? Whatever that goal is, but greatness is the result of repeated intentional actions. On a daily basis, I encourage you guys to have the discipline to go for what you want to go for. Right? We talk about, with our guys, not in an arrogant way, but I want our players to be different. I want them to be extraordinary, right? Which simply means just a little bit better than ordinary. So when the ordinary players, after practice, you go to training table, you've been up early lifting, it's going to be really easy just to go home, play a game, turn on the TV, and man, don't stop, I'll study tomorrow. The extraordinary person is going to do that because he knows he has to do that, right? So the repeated intentional actions, I ask you guys just to pay attention to that as you move forward. Everything, we talk about this, everything you or we, I say to our team and our staff, has our name on it. So everything we do as a team has Birmingham Southern College on it. Everything you do as a player has BSC baseball on it, right? And just remember that. Every decision you make off the field, right? The effort that you give, how you present yourself in the community, everything you do wherever you guys are going. And it's awesome to see that from Birmingham, Alabama, how far away some of you are going and the varied schools you're going to. Everything you do has our city's name on it. Everything you do has your family's name on it. Everything you do has your high school program's name on it, right? And just remember that. So when there are decisions to be made, there's choices to be made, you make great choices. One thing that we have, and I'm probably most proud of as our players went through this, is one of the sayings is, leave it better than you found it. That was an extremely tall task for me because I was stepping in after a legend. Dr. Birdie's son Scott is here and he knows it well. Coach Shoup had built a program at the NAI level that won a national championship. They competed at the Division I level, and I think when you went to campus and you asked professors, you know, hey, if you had an athlete in your class, what would you want? They say, oh, BSC baseball players. So we had a tall task, and I challenged our guys with that every day. Leave it better than you found it. And as we were going through this, I think, I'll get to it in a second here, but that really helped us kind of create a mindset of how we were going to attack what we were facing after we heard that news on April 5th. Our guys always knew they were just a steward of a great place. They were just a placeholder in a great program, that someone had sat in their locker, had worn their number, had played their position before them, and now they were going to hand it off to somebody that's going to play their position, that's going to wear their number, that's going to sit in their locker and leave it better than they found it for him. I think one thing that I remind our guys is you always have a choice. Whenever anything happens to you, whenever an opportunity presents itself in front of you, you have a choice of how you're going to attack it. When you hear something that maybe isn't good, right? A coach comes in and says, hey, you're number 2 on the depth chart. You have a choice to just run and go find somewhere else to play, to blame a coach, or I got a choice to go, okay, do I still want that spot? What do I have to do to go get it? Right? So I can choose to look at things in a positive mindset, or I can choose to look at things in a negative mindset. And creating that perspective in your brain is a big thing. Right? I say it all the time with our team. You know, we had a bunch of games this year, but we had lost a tough game, and our guys got on the bus, and rightfully so, mission not accomplished. We didn't win the game, but we played an unbelievable game for 8 innings in the conference tournament. We're up 8-2. We had a terrible last 2 innings, and we lose 9-8. Now we have a quick turnaround. We got to come back and play. It's not football where we can go back and look at film. We got a week. In 10 hours, we got to get right back on that field. And there was guys just hanging their heads on the bus, and they're in a negative mindset, and rightfully so, right? But I told them, now the choice is yours. So most of the time when I talk to a team about what adjustments do we have to make to win the game, yes, there's some physical things, but 95 times out of 100, it's how are you going to approach this? What is the mindset that you're going to approach? So I simply asked them, I said, I want you to go home or go up to the hotel room. I want you to shower, and in 20 minutes it's done. And now you have a choice to make. For the next 8 hours leading up to our competition, are you going to choose to believe that we're the team in the first 7 innings? Or are you going to choose to believe we're the team that just played the last 2 innings? Right? Same team, same people, but just that one choice. And just by identifying my attitude as a choice, my perspective is a choice, right? And you're going to be around a lot of people that maybe they tend to be negative. Maybe they tend to complain. Maybe they can have a tendency to blame others for their circumstance. I would just encourage you to really think about that. Your choice, your effort is a choice. Your attitude is a choice, and your perspective is a choice. Quite simply for me, I think putting all of these things as when I get that question asked to me of how did you lead these guys through that? It's a combination of all of that. So I talk about those settled issues. I think the last kind of fundamental solid issue that we had in our program is we were a program of faith and we were a program of family. And I simply reminded our guys of that on that day. I said, it's dark and it's stormy. It was actually Holy Week. We're heading up onto Good Friday and Easter. And I said, if we're believing that, right, that there's resurrection after death, that there's light after dark, right, that lightness will always beat dark, understand you can get through this. And I told them as we prayed, and we did all year long, right, and the prayer for them is obviously pray that the school makes it, pray for Daniel, pray for leadership, pray for the legislature, whatever, pray that we make it. And I just reminded them, guys, your prayer has not been unanswered. I said, I've been praying for different things. I've been praying for positive outcome, but my biggest prayer was, should this not come, give these guys the perseverance and the patience and the wisdom and the comfort and take away anxiety to deal with what's in front of them so that whatever the next chapter is, they're prepared to seize it. I gave these guys, and it's that word perspective again. I told these guys, a lot of you are crushed, you're hurt, and in the moment you might not want to hear this, but you need to listen right now. You will be okay. Again, it's this word perspective. What's just been taken from you? You got thousands of people dying in Ukraine. You got thousands of young men and women your age that don't have the opportunity to be in college right now, to have that privilege of working on yourself and improving yourself so that you can have success, right? So if the worst thing is that you have to endure this pain as hard as it is the worst thing is that you end up at another institution of higher learning playing a sport that you love in a place that, yes, it may be different and in some ways might not be as good as what you have here. That's a pretty dang good place to be. And I just remind them of that. And God will lay those tools out there. He'll help you find that place. And I think that was a big part of it. I reminded them on that day, right? There's 3 things that are in your life constantly, right? And if they're not here now, they are knocking on the door. And our guys knew this from day one, from freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, they keep hearing this, And part of their words, and I would tell you young guys this, is your coaches are starting to pour into you at the next level. Like a lot of your coaches have already poured into you at the high school level. I get it. I was there. Sometimes like, okay, I'll get through adversity, whatever. But there's going to come a time in life when something smacks you in the face. And all those little tools that the coaches are trying to give to you, you're going to have the ability to either put it to use or not. But from day one, we talked about this. There's 3 things that you're always going to face, right? Pain in some form or fashion. Some of it's tiny. I'm not playing today, right? I got a bad grade. Some of it's awful. I lost my grandmother. My uncle's got cancer. School got closed, right? There's always uncertainty in your life, right? God, what's it going to be like when I get into that new program? He's fortunate. He's already there, and he's graduated early. He's starting to get a feel for it. But, there's a lot of different things that can cause a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety, right? Don't let it keep you from diving in. Our guys had a ton of pain. They're hurting in the moment. And I told them, guys, there is no, hey, let's get over this in a few days. There's still pain now. There's going to be pain in 2 weeks. There's going to be pain in 2 years, right? When I drove into Birmingham today, I start to cry a little bit. I own a house on campus, a closed campus, that I can't say. If anybody wants to buy a house, just let me know, because I've got a great house on a closed campus that you can't get in and out of, but you'll love it. But there's uncertainty in my life. There's pain. But I said, someone that dies never leaves you. You'll still have this place. You'll still love this place, and we'll get through the pain. The uncertainty for our players, what's next? And it's probably the thing I'm most proud of our players. Because in this age of easy access to the next step, right? Now, people don't think about transfer portal and NIL and all that stuff for a situation like this, but it's really easy for a lot of players. When something doesn't go their way, I'm going somewhere else. So they really easily could have gone, and I'll give you a little script, like we were not having a typical Birmingham Southern type year. We weren't doing that well. But they could have easily said, let's go off and just go somewhere else and worry about me. But I told them, I will help you with that. I will call coaches for you. I'll help you talk to your parents about it. But right now, dive into this team. And then the last thing is hard work, and there was a bunch to be done. But I gave them one mission, and I'll keep it short because I know we got to get out of here, right? I gave them one mission that day. I said, we're going to go through this pain together. I'm going to help you with this uncertainty. But the hard work, we're going to do with one singular focus. We are not going to quit. So we have been through this, as many of you know, the year before. Are we going to stay open or are we going to close? And I saw a lot of coaches quit recruiting. We're probably not going to make it. And a lot, you looked at the next year and they suffered. We told all of our freshmen coming in, we may not be here. You can go find somewhere else you want, but I commit to you, if we're closed, I will find you a place to play. And I had 11 freshmen that came in last year, and they all helped us. But I'm not going to quit. I saw professors quit. They stopped having office hours with students because they were worried about finding their job. A lot of professors that first year ended classes on spring break with a month left, just stopped classes. I saw a lot of athletes just stop going to weights on other teams. I said, we are not going to quit. And I said, not because we want to win games. I said, you are going to do what we talked about. You are a placeholder and you're a steward. You came here because this is a great program. This is a great university or college. It's a great place to grow. And you're going to honor those guys by doing things the way we have always done, amidst pain, amidst uncertainty. And I said, you have no one to pass it on to like we used to. There is no next number. There is no next second baseman. There is nobody sitting in your locker. So you are going to honor the past of your alums. And I mean, they took it. We went out, we took BP that day. The sun came out. Miracle, I don't know. And I just told them, here it is, the lightness after dark. I was really scared getting on the bus the next day going, how the hell are we going to play? We're going to get boat raced. And I mean, we won, I think, 15-1. We go up to Kentucky. We win that series. We sweep our next two, and these guys are off and running. And it's really simple. For you young people, I'll tell you this. You say it all the time, oh, play every season like your last. Guess what? This was the last, right? This was it. Man, I got a finite amount of time next to John next to me or next to Mike right here. Like, I'm going to cherish it. And it was all a mindset. That's all it was. Have to became get to. Shoot, I get to get up and go to weights. I only get to do this 12 more times with this guy. It's not, oh, God, I got to go to weights today. Even the guys that aren't playing, it's not, God, I got to go to the park and sit there for 6 hours. I'm not going to play. Man, I get to go to the park. Have to became get to. And they truly did. Instead, it's NIL world of playing for me. They dove in. It was a master class in what love and playing for the guy next to you is. They just wanted one more day with that guy next to him. The wins and losses, they didn't sweat that crap. And it's amazing how free we played. They weren't worried about the loss. They weren't worried about making an error. They were just having fun being together. And guess what? We won a lot more games. We made a lot less errors because of that. And it was a beautiful thing to see as we went into all that. But that batting practice day, before we went and played, I said, man, you guys are not going back to your rooms after I told you this news. We're not practicing, obviously, but I want every hitter in the cage. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you sit there and just sit down and don't talk, but we're going to be together because we're going to attack this together. And, man, they ended up throwing to each other. It was the best batting practice I've seen in all my years of coaching. I mean, balls flying around the cage because it was a release. It was a fun thing to do. It was to get their mind off the real world, and it changed their perspective. We go out and we boat race, and we finish strong. and we get into the postseason, and everybody said, God, how did you, man, these guys were just happy to be playing. They were happy for the next day. And they took pride in it. In a week of lasts, like Virginia said, last week of classes, last formals for the fraternities, last finals, we go off and we win a regional. We come back to campus, and it was really weird leaving because that night was the closing ceremony, the night before we played in the super regional. And the next day was going to be the last graduation. And Dr. Rector, Richard Rector, who's an awesome psychology professor, came and spoke to the team, and he just said, thank you. And he said, take the weight off. You've done so much for us, now just go do it for you. We played, we won the super regional, we got to the World Series. But I'll leave it with this. I was in the hotel room the night of the super regionals. We were the night before we clinched to go to the World Series. And Dickie Parsons, who I had never met, was a baseball coach years ago when they started the program. His 86-year-old widow, I've never heard from her. I didn't know who she was. Somehow found my email and just sent me an email, and she just said, thank you. She said, I haven't followed your team in all these years, and I apologize, but this story caught my attention, and what you're doing, she just said, thank you for shining such a great light on everything. And the privilege that we had, it's one of the highlights of my career. I don't know if I'll win a national championship or not, but I don't think it'll take away the top of my list of being able to shine that beacon of light one last time on this campus and being able to talk about how this place has changed lives and what a special place it is, and not just letting it go softly into the night. The fact that we could bring some national attention to it is one of the most cherished things that I have. And I told our players as we move on, and we've stayed in touch with all of them, but let yourself grow from this and be proud. They may not have a campus to take their children to, they may not have a campus to take their grandchildren to, but they've got memories with each other about what a special thing they accomplished with love, with togetherness, with a little bit of resiliency and a little bit of grit. And just emailed them all last week because it was the 1-year anniversary. And I just started off, I said, told you. Life goes on. You're in a better place. But the beautiful thing is now you're stronger for it. And just hope that you guys can use some of these tidbits as you move forward. And again, congratulations and thank you for having me.
Coach, that was awesome. Thank you for your remarks, your passion, your leadership. We normally open it up for questions, but we're right at time, so come bother this fellow afterwards if you've got questions. I'm sure he would be happy to talk to you. But thank you again for being with us. In appreciation of your time, we'll be making a donation to a charity of your choice, so thanks again. Congratulations again to all of our award recipients. Thank you for being here with us today. Appreciate your families, your coaches, all of you celebrating with us.